reminds me of when Marty traveled back to 1955, and the night that he went back to the future was a stormy, rainy night. Hopefully we don't get hit by a lightning bolt.
Okay. That'd be kind of cool. I'll turn his camera around. I got lightning in Costa Rica. And I got it on tape. Or memory card. Hi, this is Virtual Presence Podcast number 2. I'm Adam Constance. With me right now is JD Career.
Yes, sir.
And this is one of the wildest stories of my life. But it has kind of upended things. Since we last were doing this, I lost the Super Bowl. That happened... Like
you were playing? You got an Aaron Rodgers thing going on here. Like, just look, not personality.
Oh, that's depression mixed with laziness. But yes, I've got it going on, man. But I am vaccinated, so I'll give you that. Disney bought NFL Media,
right?
Which was something no one, including all my people with NFL Media, could have seen coming. It was really the day we did the last podcast. I didn't find out. We did the podcast on Saturday. Monday, I got the fateful call. There was some chance that I was still maybe going. That is done. And
that's unfortunate, man. I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, it's pretty unfortunate because I had to become an S corp and I had to spend tens of thousands of dollars on other things.
You did.
And well, it's a big check. It was a year's check in a day. But you know what? You just keep on going. No, but here's what's crazy. So, I was depressed or whatever. Monday morning, a week ago today, I start hitting up some contacts. I've never gone through any of my DeLorean contacts for anything other than DeLorean stuff. Right. I just thought it was unprofessional. I just didn't do it. Even when I had movies about meeting Michael and all that there were reasons. I'm like, I'm just not going to do that. But I was like, damn it, this reel is too good. I need to get it out there. I think it's the future. So I text him.
The future.
See? Here's how I know this dude. Future Day, 2015.
Yep.
October 21st, 2015.
The actual day.
The actual day. We did 8 events that day. And unbeknownst to me, he remembered me as being someone who helped him out in a bind. I have never really had anybody say that to me because there's not a whole lot of repeat customers for the DeLorean.
Why is that?
Well, because you do it. I mean, you guys.
Yeah, once you do it once, yeah.
Yeah, once you do it, it's not like Lakers TV was going to do that again.
Right.
So it's one of those things where, but I'm always on time and responsible and professional. So, but this was the first time somebody said, "Man, you did me a favor. I'm gonna help you out." So I text him, say, "Hey. I don't know if you remember me, but here's this, and now I'm working on this." And he called me within 20 seconds, and I was like, "Wow, man, I guess you do remember me." Within that phone call, I tell him about VR180, about what I'm doing with the NFL. I wonder if you had any contacts with the Lakers, or because I really feel like this technology is going to be amazing for the NBA. NFL to me was a long shot because of the distance.
Right.
Still turned out amazing, but NBA was a no-brainer. Within an hour, he is at Target. He has bought a Quest headset to look at my reel. And I'm like, I told my wife, I said, okay, some shit's going down. Oh, by the way, you're a man of God.
It's all good, man.
Because I say
you should have listen. If you knew the type of characters that Jesus kept around, you would feel in good company.
Well, then he knows a lot about me. I do tend to drop some words. It's all in love.
It's all
man.
good.
Motherfucker
exactly.
means good to me.
Listen, it's all with a heart.
Okay.
It's all with a heart's point. It's all good.
Exactly. Thank you. So
it's about direction, not perfection.
Okay. Woo. So this guy goes to Target, gets a headset. He watches it. It's all within like an hour of me texting him, and then he's like, "All right, I'm gonna send this to peeps I know at TNT. My guy that's still at the Lakers TV because the guy who did the gig for us on that Future Day,
the producer. Shout out to B More.
And I'm just stunned. And then we were going to meet up on Sunday, but there is a torrential downpour. But here's what's even crazier.
It's still a slight downpour.
It's
not even a downpour. It's just raining.
Still
it's raining.
Bad.
It's raining.
He still drove up from Anaheim.
I'm from New Orleans.
Over an hour just to get here because he said he would. So I think the point I'm trying to make is the integrity side of this is JD. Dude, you don't understand.
Nah, brother, it's all good.
That Super Bowl disappointment, you can't listen, you don't have to do anything. Nothing can come from this. The fact that you stopped everything you were doing, got that headset, watched it, said, I'm going to help this guy out. You didn't ask for anything. You just said, I think I can help this guy. I'm going to help him. I mean, it's similar to the same shit I did for you, I guess. I was
That's
like,
what it is, man.
I heard you on. He really wanted to get this done. I'm like, dude, you have no idea how busy this day is.
Well, yeah. So let me kind of go back to that moment because for me, that was a time in my career. It was like a prove it time. Right? It was like a big prove it moment. And I was telling them, I was like, yo, we need to do this show.
Right.
Like even the senior producer at the time, he was just like, I don't get it.
Right.
Like he didn't really get it. I don't think he was like a huge Back to the Future fan or what have you.
What do you mean? No, it is.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just like,
he didn't understand the moment, the cultural moment that we were in. And again, like if we rewind the clock back to 2015, this is like early budding Instagram and social media, and Facebook is still kind of a super popular platform or whatever it might be. So I understood the cultural moment that we were in. We are LA, like we need to do this show, and it was a social media based show, like, and so like the show was called Lake Show, and it was like a hashtag Lake Show, and so to me it was like, no, we have to do this because everybody's going to be talking about it that day. So this is weeks in advance. Weeks in advance, and I'm like, yo, we have to do this, we have to do this, we have to do this, and then like, all right, what's your pitch? So I pitched him the whole idea, and it was just like, where are you going to find the DeLorean? I was like, I found this guy online, he has one, I don't know what it is, but I'm like, you got to green light this before I hit dude up.
Right.
And so, you know, we worked through the whole process, and it was like, okay, if you can get the DeLorean, this is like 2 days before.
Right.
If you can get it, we can do it. Okay. And I'm like, all right, and that's when I hit you up.
I feel like I thought it was that day. Maybe it was a little earlier.
Yeah, it was like a day or two before because we had to kind of plan the shootout. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we wouldn't have, like, so we were figuring it out, and I think it was like that day we confirmed it.
Well, so what ended up happening was we had 8 events this day.
Yeah.
So it was constantly driving, constantly moving. Obviously, at 4:29, we were going to be at the house. At Marty's house.
Yeah.
That's where they came in 2015. Like, there was a moment.
Yeah.
Somebody paid me $500. Jeff Gill, director of Storybots, $500 to drive the car in front of the house. So there are 2 people on the planet that were in the time machine at the place there.
Right.
And that's where you guys met us.
Right.
With all the people around, and you did your little bit. I was like, okay, we're going to be here. If you can fit it in here.
Yeah.
And it worked out perfectly.
It did work out. That was Coach Dave Miller who played Doc Brown, and you know I even dressed up as Marty McFly that day and kind of like ran some papers onto the site. It was a great day, and again, like I look at that moment, and there's a handful of moments in that time of my career that I look back on like, yeah, that was a moment where I proved to myself.
Yeah.
That like I belong here, that I can do this. Like I can produce big time.
Right.
And so, you know, from that moment, man, like I built so many things just off of having that moment. So yeah, when you hit me up, it was like, oh man, I remember, buddy, because it was like you didn't have to do that. Like you didn't have to fit us in, and you had everything going on, but you just kind of like did a solid. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, and I never really forgot that. So when you hit me up, and even sort of where I am right now in my career, I'm like back in that same space. Right. I'm now like I have proven up to a certain level, and now I'm ready to sort of exceed and blow past all of these things to go into the future. Right.
And when I think the same thing you felt is the same thing the people at the NFL felt. My initial contact, when he saw it, he's like, I want to show this to everybody because it's going to make me look like I found something really cool.
Well, for me too, is also like kind of fast forwarding now to the call and like the whole piece and why I moved so fast. I was like, hey, I've been in this industry for over 15 years.
Right.
And what you were describing to me, I had always believed to be impossible. Right.
Oh, to be able to feel like you're present.
Yeah. No. Like 180. In real life.
Yeah,
like I had always assumed that to be impossible.
Right.
That we would, you know. So for you to say that, oh, I did this thing, I was like, oh, I got to see this. Because if he's telling the truth,
right?
Like if this is real, then it gets to that next point, right? And so for me, it was just like I had to see it. I was like, all right, I need to see this. Like,
so I'm on the phone with him trying to talk to him how to find, because none of this is public. You had to like put in
by
numbers.
the time I get it home, I put it on. I'm like, all right, let me charge it up. All right, I hit boot up, and I'm literally I got the headset on, and I'm like on the phone with him like this. I'm like, all right, what do I do?
But then I hear him go, oh wow, oh, and then you go, I wish you could see my face.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, nobody can see your face, to be honest. But yes, it was just, you could tell, you could feel it, and it's what's so undeniable, especially that opening Rams footage shot that starts 2D,
Yep.
and then flies to your face, and you're there.
Yeah.
It just instantly, it greenlit the Super Bowl. I mean, that's like, this went so high at the NFL.
Yeah.
To have even gotten to the point where we had it ready. It's just unfortunate Disney.
Maybe you'll get
NFL
next year's Super Bowl.
Well,
which would be great. You know why?
Why?
It's in New Orleans.
Oh, damn! That's
yes.
actually kind of
Yes.
cool.
Hey, I got some.
Okay.
I got some stuff that me and you can plug in on that, because listen, I think the bigger point is this: the wow was like, there's two moments in television history. There's two moments. The first moment was when we flipped the switch from black and white to color.
Right.
I vividly remember that moment. You put it in your reel.
Right.
The next moment, I was actually working at a.
How old are you?
Huh? Born 1984.
Well, you don't remember it.
No, I remember from your reel. You put it in the reel.
Right. Okay. I was like,
but I vividly remember, because I was working as a journalist at the time, and I actually did a story on this when we flipped the switch from SD to HD.
yes.
I was actually in the little, the back room where they're flipping the switch or whatever, and this felt like that.
Yeah.
This felt like that moment when you flip it on, like when you can say like, oh, what's the big deal with now HD to Blu-ray? I don't think was that big of a jump. HD to 4K isn't that big of a jump, because we're really just improving on the same product.
Right.
To go from 4:3 standard definition to 16:9 high definition.
Yeah, it was a moment.
It was a moment, because it was like, oh, from a production standpoint, it's not just that it looked cooler and it was clear. It's like, look how much more we can show.
Right.
In one frame, in one picture, look how much more we can present to an audience.
Well, and cinematically, now you're at home watching it as opposed to having to go,
Right. It's not adjusted to fit the screen or whatever it is. Right. And so for me, when I think about the 3D 180 60 FPS VR,
right.
It's that same thing. Look how much more we can show the audience.
Right.
And so I, as a storyteller, as a visual storyteller, as a multimedia specialist, multimedia journalist, or what have you, again, 15 years in the industry, my immediate thought is, oh, wow, there's another layer of storytelling that we're going to be able to add with this technology. And so that's what excites me about this. And like when I'm trying to, as I'm pitching it to my friends at these different networks and entities, it's like, hey, this is going to change everything in fan engagement.
So then this comes up. This is the Apple Vision Pro.
Yes, sir.
Now I put it on. I modded this little this to put on it, because by itself it's the most uncomfortable headset I've ever put on.
Which, by the way, how many headsets have you tried?
Oh, I got
all of them.
I have all of them.
Right.
Yeah, I have tons.
Right.
But yeah, they released 4 immersive videos like what I'm doing,
right.
And they look amazing, and they're clearly believing in this. It is the future. The problem is that right now you can't watch anything on their headset. You can't watch my stuff. You can't put files on this. I cannot play any immersive video on this.
It's basically just like the Apple Store, like anything that's, oh wow, okay.
Now, but even the Apple Store, you could usually just put your files on.
Right.
There's a player.
Right.
All the players got gimped. They went through all the websites. You can't. The buttons aren't even there.
Other than like YouTube, of course, right?
No, all gone. You can't see anything on here.
You can't watch YouTube videos?
You can watch YouTube, but not VR. You can't.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So you can't,
like on your Quest. If you go to YouTube, if you go to
watch
my page,
YouTube VR, yeah,
you hit a little button, takes over your whole vision.
Right.
That's gone.
Oh,
so
wow.
Now this is weekend 1.
Right, of course.
I've got a 14-day to return window, but obviously I only spent $4,000 so I could show people my stuff in the best quality as I'm trying to pitch. That was the only reason. So the fact that I can't do that is very frustrating. The screens are pretty. It looks really nice, but there's a weird... I don't know how technical you get about this shit, but there's pixel smear in this. OLED, if you move your head too fast, there's a little bit of smearing. For $4,000, it doesn't do it. It should be perfect. So, a little bit of problems with this device. But, yeah, this is it. I wanted to show everybody the little thing that I made. I have all these people asking me how I did this. Honest to goodness, there's just a little... You can kind of see it. Maybe you can see it. There's a top strap up here. A little black top strap up here that's full. And then here I just cut half of it off. That's it. So I could get it around this speaker. And it works perfectly. And it fits great on your head. All the pressure's up here. Otherwise, it rests completely on your cheeks. There's no back support. You know what I mean? Whereas this is pretty weighted well. This is like this. It's straight up like this. So, but yeah, this is the beast, and it is raining profusely. Can't believe I brought it out here. But I was like, my man decided to drive up.
We're gonna do it.
We're gonna do it up.
Let me ask you this: what is your kind of? Let me put my journalism hat and flip this whole thing around. What do you want? Like, what do you hope comes from this? Because I did see, like, I remember at the end of the thing where you were talking about with the Rams when you were walking off the field with the guys, you had said like, somebody was like, "Oh man, it's gonna be." He's like, "Nah, man, I just want people to see the potential of this." Like, what do you?
Well, that was a specific test for the NFL,
right?
So that was, I mean, we were shooting this to make sure. And then it did it. So the reason they greenlit the Super Bowl was because they wanted that to be episode 1 for Apple or Meta. Right? So they're going to have them figure out who wants this weekly show that the NFL was going to produce. NFL Media in particular. The problem now is that NFL no longer owns NFL Media. So, I mean, hopefully the bosses at ESPN and Disney think this is a great idea and they want to keep going, right? They may, but they also might go to Apple and Apple say, we'll cover it. And it just makes me inconsequential. I don't know.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess that's my question, right? Like, how do you, because, like, so what you're able to do without getting into proprietary,
right?
Are you sort of like in a small group of people who know how to know how to like make this stuff happen?
Yeah, I'll tell you. So even Apple stuff, right?
Right.
Apple did this amazing lady doing a high wire act over these mounts, okay? But if you look at the camera that they had to use, I'll put it up in the middle here, but I want you to be able to see it as well. If you look at the camera they had to use to shoot this.
Oh my God.
I mean, it's the size of her.
That's insane.
Okay.
Right. And you did that on this.
I did that on this, and what I'm doing that nobody seems to be willing to do yet is taking the risk of moving the camera because it makes people sick.
Right.
So you don't want to shoot something really important and move the camera and miss the shot.
Right.
So they do everything static like this, which is obviously safer. But if I'm going to shoot the NBA, if I'm going to shoot the NFL, you better be able to move.
Yeah.
Like that shot when you're behind Stafford, it's coming back. I'm standing behind him.
Yeah, you got to get out the way.
Right. We couldn't have put a tripod down there.
No.
So you have to be able to be mobile.
And obviously these don't work on Zooms.
There is no zoom. There is no autofocus.
Yeah,
there is no.
It is. I'm gonna take. I don't know how this is gonna work in. Actually, it'll probably work great because it's like.
Yeah, no, dude, that just you're pissing people off right now.
Oh, really?
They're like, that's funny.
Oh,
it's real close.
Oh, wow.
Imagine that's somebody's eyes.
Right? Oh, that's like a person now.
Like, haha.
I'm sorry, guys.
It's not funny, but okay. Everybody's got to do it once. So I think that's where, like,
that's
that,
hilarious.
what I produce for the NFL, I don't think you can do without the knowledge of how do you move. You move completely different. And as a photographer, your brain goes, "Ooh, I got to get that shot." You can't do that.
So so not only is it it's in the actual production and how you move and like your movement speed
and your movements.
Gotcha.
Then on top of all that, this unfortunately is filmed in a raw format at 8K at 60 frames a second, and that's the only way to do it. Right. So you're talking about a couple gigs a second.
Wow.
These files are massive, and then you have to. So here's the other problem. You can't just load your footage and start editing. You have to be able to see it in VR with your headset on because you still motion sickness. So I got to edit in VR with these files this big and then cut out, like, you think you had a great shot, but you might have moved a certain way, and if it whopped, you're fucked.
Wow.
So, like, it is, But I've been doing it now for 2 years and about 80 films, and I got it. I've nailed it. So you were talking about here's where this is going, and why I'm excited is he knows some peeps still working at Spectrum. Is it?
Yep. Lakers Network, Clippers,
and the Clippers.
Beautiful.
Little rivalry. It's kind of like Apple. Where to see? But he said what I thought was exactly right. He goes, "Can you go to a practice, shoot some stuff, render it there, show them at the moment?"
Yeah.
And I said, well, yeah, actually. I mean, if it's a couple seconds, we do like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I can absolutely get that going. Maybe bring an assistant so we can load stuff up and do stuff. And ideally, you turn it around, show the players, show the coaches, show the people at Spectrum. And I just want that moment to test it, because these clips can absolutely go on YouTube VR.
Yeah.
And then the fans get to just, for 30 seconds, stand in a practice.
Yeah.
Or what I want to do, and I was talking to the professor about this, the basketball player, the professor.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
We work together, and we've been trying to meet up because I want to.
Oh, man.
Oh, he's the best.
Dude, listen.
I
love that dude. I mean, not only do I just, what I like about him the most is how he has sort of owned the opportunity to just be like the good guy in the space,
Good
right?
guy,
Like
street ball.
I love all of the costumes that he. Man,
so fun.
yeah, we got. I'd
He's
love to get out there with that.
He's a great dude. But what I wanted to do, and I would do this with obviously the Lakers are pretty good, but I want you to guard. I want you to feel the speed. I think that's what's missing. Whenever I've seen live professionals play, their handles, dude, you have no idea how good and how fast these guys are.
Oh man,
it doesn't.
I've been on NBA sidelines. That's the thing about, as someone who's been literally under the goal for NBA games with the camera. There is an experience of having these massive humans run at you at full speed. And then jump higher and come down harder. Like, being there is a different. That's why they pay. That's why those seats cost so much.
So the first clip I'd want to show them is somebody at the top of the key. I'm coming back, and they're dribbling in front of me, and they go over me and dunk. And you would literally be going like this, walking backwards, and you'd be able to look up.
Wow!
It would be unlike anything you've ever seen.
Wow!
That one shot, I take that. I render it. I put it in the headset. I show them.
Now, how would you? Yeah, obviously, you wouldn't be able to recreate that in like games.
Well, now
like in a practice, like or like the dunk contest.
Of course, the dunk. Yeah, can you get me to the All-Star game? And what is it? We got 3 weeks.
Man,
that's what I'm saying.
Contest.
Like that's where I feel like these little tiny clips. And that's the other thing, is that I made this huge thing for the NFL, right? Very long, but I'm telling you, dude. There's a time limit for these headsets right now.
What you mean by that?
2 or 3 minutes, 4 or 5. You know what I mean? Like, you want little bits of content.
Right. You don't want somebody kind of having that thing on there.
After a while, yeah. And now it's going to get better. But as of today, what's good for right now is these. I would love to see a wall of VR180 NBA dunks and just be like, oh, I want to see that. And then I get to choose at my time.
Man, listen, now, if that's what they started pumping out as NFTs.
Oh, my God.
Nah, if that's what. Now, if the people, I forget the name of them, but the people who were doing all the the NBA NFTs, man, it was on top of the world, and I can't even remember the name. But anyway,
hope they sold.
Nah,
hope they sold quick.
But if they stuck around and there's and like this is a moment, right? Like to be able to like own this moment.
Well, and that's
different, like because it's like, yo, this is the actual moment.
And the other issue is, and we kind of got into this with
trading. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, we also kind of got into that with the NFL. Is this is Aaron Rodgers last year, maybe, right? Or as I said, I want to document LeBron and his. I mean, last year, but maybe. Yeah. You got. Who do you look like that I can make fun of you?
There's a Canadian rapper that everybody says that I look like.
Oh, okay, but I meant I was thinking sports, but documenting these people before they leave.
Right, yeah. No.
That's it. Like, I want to get LeBron and his son playing. There's a moment in time, right? This will be the future of broadcasts. So in 5 or 6 years.
That?
Oh, dude.
Because right now you're talking about how big and difficult and all of these things are. What makes you think that, like, from a broadcast standpoint, that we're going to be able to get there?
All right, so right now in VR, in the new Apple headset, you can walk around with it, right?
Right.
You can put your screens anywhere you want. You walk into the room, their screens are still there.
Oh, wow.
When you're watching the NBA, you're standing there. You got 5 games going all around you. Once these are comfortable enough that they are a pair of sunglasses,
Right.
you won't have. That's just how you watch.
Right.
Then
Right.
you will have the choice to go boop, shoot, immersive,
Right.
and then you can go back.
Right.
Back and forth. You can go
right,
back and forth.
Right, right.
Like I did that in the NFL pitch, right?
Yep.
Where I explained, okay, that is what's going to happen. What I think would be amazing is, can you imagine when that's the future, LeBron's 60, you can go, let's go back and show you him playing with his kid.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
that NBA All-Star,
I wish we had good footage of Bart Starr. I wish we had good footage of Johnny Unitas where they did, it's almost like we
real
think
world footage.
we think less of Wilt Chamberlain's 100 because it's
We
not
didn't see it, yeah.
right. Like I feel like this is going to be a step
because it's the fan experience, and I think you make a point on that because when I think about like the NBA bubble, that's why people diminish the Lakers championship because the fans weren't able to, it wasn't a fan experience, and so I feel like what you're talking about is like the what everybody wants, what all of these broadcasters want, what all of these the teams want is, I mean, having been someone who works for NFL teams and NBA teams, the number one thing driving ticket sales is fan engagement.
Yes.
Period.
Yeah.
And so anything to increase, I think that I could definitely see, especially in the short term, how this could be applied to a fan experience, like an in-arena fan experience. Whatever, especially once we get to the point where we can go straight live with it.
That's coming sooner than we think.
No, exactly.
Well,
right?
they do have live. X Stadium does do live NBA games with 3 cameras, but they're not 3-dimensional.
And what's the difference between 3 cameras and 3-dimensional? We're talking about?
They have a mono 180-degree view.
Right.
So it's cool. You're sitting courtside, but it's not. It's not 3D. It doesn't.
You're still sort of behind the layer of a screen, I guess. The fourth wall.
It looks like this. I mean, it's mono.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to explain it. There's no depth. There's no. It looks kind of cool.
The way I would explain it is this, because without being able to put it on, how I would explain it to people is that in television we talk about the fourth wall being the camera, and that there's a representation of that camera, a lens, a screen, or whatever it is, and this allows you to break through that.
Absolutely.
And so that's, to me, when I put it on, the difference between just the regular, because I was doing sort of the one-eye test just to say, okay, so what's really the difference? I was like, oh.
It's being there.
Yeah, it's being there. It really is truly being there. It is the most immersive video experience that I've ever had in my life.
Not to toot my own company, but you're virtually present. I'm glad I got that one. That's the whole point.
Brought to
is
you
to
by.
be virtually present.
So you're not used to do that, right? That was for anybody who's like, man, that guy's voice sounds so familiar.
Yo, we got 2 radio voices here. What do we got?
I used to do the bump ends readers for the Lakers network. The Access Sportsnet Lakers is brought to you by Carl's Jr. or Virtual Presence Production. That was me. I did those. So there you go.
I love it.
Shout out to that.
So this is what we're getting to work on. This is why I want the Super Bowl to be over. I need it to be the Monday after the Super Bowl because I can't stop getting people going, I can't wait to see you. I'm so excited. I'm like, about that.
Oh, you can't really.
I've tried to tell everybody I can, we had to build up to get to that point.
Yeah.
I haven't told everybody. I keep forgetting people until I get the text, and then I like watching the Super Bowl. Not gonna like it so much this year. It's gonna be. I just want it to be Monday.
Yeah.
Once it's Monday. But I'm working on stuff ahead of time, and
that's how I felt after that Rams Saints moment.
The worst call in the history of.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? When that happened, my heart went out of the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I was like, I was a Rams fan, and I was like, man, this is some bullshit. That is.
Thank you for saying that. You're the first Rams fan to ever say that.
No, it's funny because my friends are like, well, there's bad calls all the time, and I'm like.
That is the worst call.
That was
whatever.
I said that's going to change some rules. That I feel like money was on it. That was the most rigged. I've never seen him miss a call like that.
Yeah,
that was the worst thing I've ever seen.
I think that's the moment you can point to. Everybody's talking about script NFL script writers. To me, that is the demarcating moment of just okay, this is wrestling.
I want to know more. Where's the investigation? Something's up.
They did all of that investigation in Bonnegate, but
Right. Something's up. Yeah, I'm with you on
for
that.
just playing football, if you ask me.
The worst no call in the history of no calls. But yeah, I just want to get past that game. But in the meantime, we're gonna hook up some pitches and so forth. And I think I think we can at least get to a practice and start to show.
Yeah.
We just got to get them in the headset. Once they see the Rams thing, they're gonna move the needle so fast.
Yeah, and there's a few different things, man. Like because you mentioned like the professor. There's a few other different things. I think there's a lot of these, like the big three. I think the big three might probably be, you get something. Yo, Q, shout out to your man Ice Cube. I will say this: Ice Cube is an innovator when it comes to all of this stuff.
Do you know Ice Cube?
No, I don't know Ice Cube.
Why did you say that then?
Because I know the director of player personnel for the Big Three.
The Big Three. Oh, I thought you were like
that's
Major League Baseball, NBA, and NFL.
No, the Big Three. Yeah, the Big Three basketball.
Right,
Big Three basketball, which has a lot of the whole NBA stars, right? Because like what it's going to take, and the reason why I mentioned that is that I think that it's going to take, somebody with an innovative mind who was like, the whole idea of like if it's not broke, don't fix it. Well, that's what Blockbuster said.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And we see what happened with them.
Right.
And so like I'm always trying to prevent myself from being like I always think there's two. There's Blockbuster and Pixar. Right? What Pixar did to John Lasseter after the Brave Little Toaster, and then they had to flip back and buy it for billions of dollars. Right. Like
I was like the hugging thing? What?
Yeah, no,
that was later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what?
But like to me, like it's you all. There's always these big entities who are and shout out to Pixar, shout out to Disney, and shout out to anybody to Netflix or whatever it is. But Blockbuster kind of blew it. Disney was like, we don't want to be Blockbuster, but like somebody's got to take the risk because it's a risk, man. Like because and the reason why I say it's a risk is because I talked to at least 6 people.
Okay.
In this industry, in the industry that I do. Myself included, prior to talking to you, none of us had headsets, right? Those are like, it's the people like, and I'm not trying to like toot my own horn, but it's like, it's people like me that have to be convinced,
right?
Because when people like me are convinced, then we can, the consumer isn't ready for it because the people creating the content aren't even ready for it.
But here's what's awesome: you have a piece in your pocket.
Yes.
If you can get in front of them.
Yes.
You cannot watch the Rams reel without going,
wow,
oh shit, I know what we can do. And that's what was so amazing. In the NFL, the first meeting, like we had a pitch deck or whatever, they're like, I've seen the slides and blah, 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 blah. And then they saw the reel.
Yeah.
And they went, ooh, it was greenlit that day. The test was greenlit right that day.
It's amazing.
We finished the piece October. Within a month, they've gone to everybody in the NFL, all of business development in New York, all that kind of stuff, and the Super Bowl was greenlit that fast because you can't deny how you feel when you're watching that piece.
Yeah,
that opening shot.
Yeah, no, you can't.
It feels like VR Madden. That's what somebody told me, and I was like, it's exactly right. It's like you're controlling these because it's the Madden shot, right? It's a little lower, but the Madden shot behind the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
But it's around you, and you feel something that when you take it off, you go, I want to see more of that. I'll pay for it.
I watched the Rams reel like 6 times.
Yeah.
I watched it like 6 times
because it feels. And you said your wife was like, "Oh, okay, now I understand."
Yeah. As soon as I put it on her head, she was like, because she was just like, "Why are you about to spend $250
right
when we don't have it?"
Right.
I'm literally trying to like get an apartment. That day, we're trying to like get an apartment, which by the way I got denied for. Which that's a whole different story. Listen, man, let me tell you something. I'll be honest with people. I've heard too many stories about highly successful people who have ended up in some sort of either financial under place,
right,
or people not believe or whatever it may be. But when you have a godly, I would say, when you have a godly belief in yourself,
right, it
don't matter. So as these things are happening and as our finances are what they are, I'm dropping this bread. And my wife was like, she didn't really question me. Because she is like, she knows when I'm serious about something.
My wife is exactly the same
Over the years, she keeps a running diary of my quote unquote genius ideas. And like some of them have come into fruition. So she's known me to say, like, when I'm passionate about something, she can hear it in my voice, to just be like, let me go with it because he ain't gonna stop.
It's interesting. I'm 10 years older than you, and I will admit, as I've gotten older, they're a little fewer and far between, right?
Yeah.
Meaning, boy, in your 20s, function.
Yeah.
And then you get hurt, and then 30s like, okay, punch. 40s are more like, ooh, but I'm still punching.
Swinging, yeah.
I'm still swinging. I'm still going. But I can see how I think there is a post-traumatic stress to the fails. Like everything kind of starts to kick your ass a little harder, and it hurts a little more.
Yeah,
and then you see your kids growing up, and part of you goes, I really want to. I can't wait to see what they get to do. Yeah. Right. My kids are 10 and 11. You're starting to see. I'm like, I want to help them. So I'm in a weird transition period, but I'm still fighting, and I know I have $1 million idea. Obviously, Apple believes in the same thing, right? But I'm doing it in a way nobody else is doing, and I can, as a storyteller, there's a lot you haven't seen that I put out, but I can make you feel something that you've never felt before.
And that's what we chase.
That's what we chase.
That's what we chase.
The Fastest DeLorean or all these. I wanted you to feel exactly what it felt like to have. I mean, I don't know how far you got in the movie. You see my brother pull out, and oh god, it got ugly. It turns into a family drama real quick.
Wow.
You just start, but it gets really ugly, but you feel it. It feels real. Yeah. So with this headset, oh my god, it's such a different. You are on the field with the Rams.
Yeah, man. And I think that when people do get a chance to experience it, they'll get it.
Oh yeah,
they'll get it. And I think to kind of put a cap on what we're talking about, like that risk, the reward to me is the failure piece.
Yeah.
That I think a lot of people get hung up on now. Joel Osteen, I'm about to quote Joel Osteen, and I think Joel Osteen is one of the most putrid human beings.
You said putrid, right?
Yeah, putrid.
Oh, thank God. Dude, we were having a moment.
Yeah.
Because you were over here. My ass was over here going.
Yeah. Oh, nah, one of the most putrid human beings ever. But even a broken clock is
right.
So Joel said, and I think that context is important. Joel said, failures are just the things you don't keep, right? And in a sense that, like, he tells a story, and this is like non-religious-esque, but he tells a story about going to a beach as a kid and like spending the whole vacation picking up seashells.
Yeah.
Right. Every one of the seashells that he picked up, he loved. He there was something about that seashell that was important to him. Now, he didn't pick them all up, so he took a few. Right. So of the ones that he didn't take, were they failures or were they just the ones he didn't keep? And then it goes on and on and on. Basically, like the story goes on to where, like, at the end of the vacation, he could only have 10.
Got it.
He can only bring 10 home. Now, it went from 50 to 25 to 10. Of the 50, that 25 that you didn't get, that 40, whatever, those aren't failures per se. It's just the things that you didn't keep. Because when you just kind of put a button on it, because whatever it is to get you to that success is all you need.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, I bet somebody else has said that story in a similar fashion.
Probably. I read it in his book.
That you could use instead of using that dude.
Listen, I understand. I read it the reason why I read it in his book.
That's a good. It's a good story.
And as someone who is a journalist and who practices journalism, I always think proper attribution is best.
That's fair. But I bet you can find a similar.
I'm pretty sure I can find a different version of the story, but I never want to tell that story as of my own because it is a very popular Joel Osteen story. Right. And so for those who know, like, oh, he told that Joel Osteen story, I needed to get it out there. Like, I think that dude is terrible.
Well, I mean, the other way I look at it also is I don't think I have a choice. Like, I thought Rent the DeLorean was probably. I was tired. It kicked my ass when the car exploded on the side of the road, and then I got a. It was such a, but I was like, I think I'm done with these massive leaps. And then I woke up one morning, and if it's in you, it's in you. Yeah. Like I feel like I'm going to be doing this till I die. I can't stop. And if I believe in it, I spent 400 hours. I recreated the Universal Back to the Future ride in that car. 400 hours in September of 22, and it turned out great. And you can sit in the car and you drive it, and it's like, I was like, where's this coming from? I turn 50 next year.
Right.
But I guess you just, you just keep going.
Man, that's just being a creative, man.
Yeah,
and like for
going.
me, like when and I think that's how, just to kind of circle back, that's what kind of led me to the faith or where I'm at right now, because it's like, as a creative, I wanted to tap into the most creative.
Yes.
Right? The original creator. Because it's like, I intentionally, over the years, for instance, like, there's a bunch of TV shows I've never watched.
Right.
There's a bunch of content that I've never consumed, because it's like, I'm waiting for my original idea. Right? And I've been, and I've sort of like allowed myself, and I've aligned my life in a sense to just wait for that moment. And I've started to, you know, over the course, I would say, of the last 5 years, really hone in on that story.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, you know, I would say from my time where I started as a journalist back in, here in Los Angeles, not back, but here in Los Angeles, like 2018, 2019, like it hit.
What did you do with the Rams and the Pelicans? When you
Saints and Pelicans.
I'm sorry, Saints and Pelicans.
Yeah. Senior content manager. So I was responsible. By the end of it, essentially what I was doing is working with corporate partnerships and the team of figuring out how do we create like real content, not just like commercial content.
Right.
And so I basically helped the Saints and Pelicans rebrand their whole content strategy around like modern day social media, you know, how we put stuff out modernly on social media. It ended terribly, and I've never really told this story publicly, but it's worth telling. What else? I was in Chicago, so there was a bunch of stuff happening. This was sort of the straw that broke the camel's back.
All right.
We were in Chicago, and I got left at American Airlines Arena by the team bus that was on the way to Memphis. I mean, not Memphis. Minnesota the next night. So we were going from Chicago to Minnesota. And
with the Pelicans?
With the Pelicans.
Okay.
Right. And it left me on the bus with a bunch of equipment. You know, American Airlines Arena is not in the South Side of it. It's near. It's close. It's adjacent. Close enough.
Right.
Right.
It's suck adjacent.
It's close enough. Right. And so I had, again, a bunch of things had happened. I kind of lost my cool, said some stuff. Right, went off, talked all kind of crazy about Sean Payton, the organization, Gail Benson. I went clean off. I was like, let me tell y'all, I read them that riot act, right? And I'm like, you know what? I'm out. I'm cooling off for the day. I'm going to see y'all later. And I took a 5-minute Uber to George Floyd Square.
Okay.
Right? And this is like the year or whatever after it happened. And I'm down there, and it still looks like it was. And I see where he died. And I got down on the ground, and I laid there for a few minutes, not the full 9, but for a few minutes. And I looked up, and I got up, and I told myself, never again will I get down on this ground for these people. Never again. Never again will I get back down on the ground for anyone. And by these people, I mean that, like, the powers that be.
Right.
Right, that I was going to go...
Now, real quick.
Yeah.
Not that you were overreacting. I don't know the whole situation.
For sure.
Wasn't it a mistake? Didn't somebody... I mean, did they not... fuck, we thought you were... shit, we'll come back and get you, like...
It was a mistake, and yes, maybe it was an overreaction, but it was more of a reaction to the other things that had to...
I was going to say, this had to be a straw.
Oh, it was a straw.
Okay,
it was 100%
I was
a straw.
like, damn.
Yeah, so you got to understand, I took that job starting in, what was it, April of 2020.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
Okay? January, March, April, May. Yeah, April, May of 2020.
That was when they decided to start hiring? Jesus.
Well, they needed because everything was shutting down, they needed somebody to create content.
Oh, okay. I see.
Right? Now, I had started interviewing for the job prior to shutdowns.
Oh.
Right? I remember, like, waiting to get the call, and then the Rudy Gobert situation happened, and being like, oh, wow, I might not have a job. Right. And we were already planning to move back home to New Orleans at the time, and I was working remotely out here.
Oh, no.
Like, that was going to be the plan. So all of that stuff was going down. And then, like, I get down there, and my first job was the bubble.
Wait, so you were at the bubble championship?
45, not the championship, but for the as long as the Pelicans were there, yeah.
Oh.
That's when I was talking about the Pelicans. Yeah, so this is Zion's rookie,
right.
like, the whole Zion.
I remember.
Yeah, no. So, like, I'm there. I'm in the midst of it, dealing with all of the same things that the players are dealing with, that is very well
Yeah.
documented without being a player,
Right.
and so nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Oh,
So nobody
man.
cares. So I'm dealing with all of this stuff alone by myself, away from my wife,
Yeah.
who just gave birth
Right.
6 months ago to our third son, living in a new city for the first time in a brand new house that we
With
bought.
3 babies.
With 3 babies in the
Damn.
middle of COVID.
Wow.
And I'm gone. And so like that was everything. And then like when I tried to address this,
Right.
I tried to get, the team therapy or whatever it is. They told me the team therapist is only for the players, just in case their jump shot gets off. All right? So, then they tried to send me to like to get my hair shrunk, you know what I'm saying, to go get evaluated.
My fist might get off if you don't help me out. I
Right, like,
don't know.
You know what I'm saying? Like to get evaluated, and I was like, evaluate. Like, I tried to even when it was like, because I give the team credit. The team reached out to me, like the president of the team.
Right.
Like I talked to like the president of the team.
Right.
He's like, "Yo, are you good?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "No, I'm not."
Yeah.
Right?
Not
Like,
even a
get
little.
me home now. I'm not
Yeah.
good at all.
Yeah.
And, right. And so, again, this is in Chicago. Now we're in Minnesota,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I do the Minnesota game, right? And I get home, and I'm just like, nah, man. And it was like a few months later, I took a job at a local news channel down there. And local news in the antebellum South is as exactly as you would think it would be.
Ooh.
And so from there, I do the independent thing, which went great. But nah, man, like for me, it's where I'm at now in my career. I think I've said it before, but I think it's more contextually potent now. It's not that I'm doing something because I need people to believe in me.
Right.
It's just like, nah, man. Like now I'm at that point where you talked about. I was like, hey, I found something.
Yep.
I found something. Like I found this thing, but I'm gonna do the thing that most people don't do in this situation. Right? Most people, especially in this town that we live in, say, "Oh, I found this thing. How can I benefit off of it?"
Right.
How can I benefit off of it? To
Yeah.
me, I'm like, no, I already know how I can benefit off of this, right? I got a whole community of kids back in my city who need to learn this kind of technology because
Right.
it's like teaching them this technology puts them, because this is the future,
Right.
it puts them in advantage to have a life. And so that's where I see this. And I think that like you are an amazing person to even invite me into this space.
You have no idea. I mean, there's a whole story about what happened in August that it won't be public,
Right.
but I will tell you off camera.
Yeah.
But you are hitting all these notes, and I will say that my goal and the reason I wanted to record this, which is, I'm the first and longest running video blogger, right?
Yeah. Guinness World Record.
I am a Guinness World
Put some
Black,
respect on his
right?
name.
The reason I document everything is for my own accountability. I do not lock entries that are about me. Sometimes if it
Right.
involves somebody else, I can't, But all of my egg is always on my face. When I said I'm going to the Super Bowl, when I wasn't, guess what I had to do? I had to make the video.
Yeah.
It's not a good video, but and I'm going to tell you right now, my goal is that we look back on this little week, all right, where I texted you, we did this, you came up in the rain, and we go, can you believe everything that came from you believing, I believing, and that's my goal, that you and I are like, man, I'm so glad I took your text. Man, I'm so glad I took that call. I'm so glad I drove up that day. I'm so glad we got this in stone, because everything else will work itself out.
Absolutely.
Okay?
We two good people, man.
Yes,
we're two
exactly.
good people, and we're too good at what we do.
Please check out my other VRLOGs and subscribe and comment. It means the world to me.